We're very excited now to be joined by Danny Funt. He's the author of a new book. Let's put it up here on the screen. Everybody Loses: The Tumultuous Rise of American Sports Gambling. Topic near and dear to my heart, Danny, and it already seems from some of the excerpts that have been released that it backs up much of the reporting out there about the exploitative way that these companies run, how they're able to limit winners, how they are able to dramatically exploit some of the losers, the so-called whales, how they manage their internal risk, their own PR strategy. So why don't you give the audience a little bit of a taste here of some of the revelations that you found while you're reporting out this book?
Yeah, even though, as you were saying, some of the predatory tactics the industry uses have been covered, I think there are certain details I was able to find that'll blow people away, particularly things that people within the industry admitted, saying, their advertising is untruthful. They're suggesting that you can win, but you can't. That was from the former CEO of FanDuel. Another high up at FanDuel told me that the way that parlays just annihilate customers reminded him of when he was a military contractor helping warships be more lethal. And he sort of had ambivalence about, he wants to help FanDuel make money, but is destroying customers at that rate really the right thing to be doing? So a lot of revelations from all sorts of people around this field, but I'm particularly proud that so many people within the industry wanted to speak up for this book.
So can you dig into that a little bit more for people who haven't followed it closely? When you have the former, FanDuel CEO, you said, saying, like, we tell people they can win, but really you can't. What do they mean specifically by that? What do they do to engineer the outcome where over a long period of, you are not going to win in any significant amount anyway?
Right. So as much as the house always wins is such an axiom of the gambling business, there's something about sports betting where you think, I know my team or my league better than whoever's setting the odds. I can outsmart them. And the advertising from these companies totally reinforces that. It's so on the nose that they're saying betting on sports is a way to make money. Surveys of customers back that up. And yet it goes beyond the house edge. I remember speaking with someone who was an executive at a company that builds these micro bets. So nowadays you can not only bet on who's going to win or even prop bets like how many touchdowns will my favorite quarterback throw, but literally every play has become an opportunity for betting. Will this play result in a score or not? Mm-hmm. Things like that. And this guy who's a micro betting executive said, we recognize that fans are predisposed to think positive outcomes will happen. So you're going to hope your team scores more than you're going to hope they punt in a football game. And we're going to shade the odds, as they put it, so that those positive outcomes pay out less. And he sort of thought about it for a moment and said, we're kind of taxing the casuals with that shading. And I just thought, man, the leagues and even these sports books have said betting is a way to enhance fandom. It just makes you more on the edge of your seat, more locked into the game. At the same time, they're very explicitly taking advantage of your weaknesses as a fan just to drive up their margins. So that, as basic as it is, was telling, I thought, of just how this industry works and how ruthless they can be.
Danny, some of the things that I have tried to hammer home, specifically about this parlay bet, is that many people have an antiquated notion about sports gambling as if it's exactly the same as it used to be, let's say whenever it was illegal. The truth is that these specific types of parlays, multi-player bets, 2 touchdowns, combinations, have never existed before. And they are by far the most profitable engine for these gambling companies. You said that they remind people of a war executive, for example, of annihilating the enemy. And the profits actually bear that out for these companies. Could you detail what you found specifically about these parlay bets, which are the most popular on all of these platforms, and how they work to specifically exploit many of these fans?
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of ways in which the industry will say, there's always been illegal betting. We've just brought it out of the black market. Sure, there's some truth to that, but the online betting industry is a whole new ball game, partly because just betting on your phone, 95% of this business is now conducted online. So online betting opens the doors to such more complexity with how you're betting. and the menu of things you can bet on has just exploded, where there are thousands of things you can bet on within a single game. Parlays are now all some people bet on, especially young people. The idea that you can combine a bunch of things, if they all hit, you'll make a lot of money. You know, you might bet $10 for the chance at winning $300. You could understand how appealing that is. But 30% of bets are parlays, and about 60% of revenue comes from parlays.
Wow.
They tend to hold, for every $100 you bet, the house holds about $30 in revenue. The traditional margin for sports betting was like $5 for every 100 wagered. And what that same guy who used to work at FanDuel, his name is Nick Bonadio, so I'm happy a lot of guys put their names behind these quotes, said, customers have this assumption that I'll bet that $10 bet to win 300, and if I hit one of those bets, it's going to pay for all my losers. It doesn't work that way. The odds are so bad for those bets over time. It's why it's so profitable. He said, and I remember this quote, he said, not to be condescending, but I think maybe 5% of customers understand that the odds are actually so bad, that these are sucker bets, essentially. And yet, as I was saying, it's sometimes exclusively how people now wager on sports.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit more too about prop bets, where you can, not just bet on like the outcome of the game, but you can bet on how much one particular player is going to score in one particular quarter. I mean, with these very specific things. And of course, that makes it easier for those players and people who are involved in the league to get in on, rigging those bets. So how widespread is this? And how much does it undercut the legitimacy of the games that we're watching?